Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Phoebe and this is a YouTube channel about cross stitch. I'm going to be sharing with you all of the projects that I've been stitching on in the last 2 weeks, my new starts, the things that I want to be stitching on, my plans for the next couple weeks. I hope that you've been having a fantastic last 2 weeks since we have chatted, and I hope you've been getting to do a massive amount of stitching. So I don't know what I named this video. I think it's around episode 91 or something like that. I don't know if you've been able to tell, but I have been naming my videos after songs, and so they might seem like, what is she talking about? But sometimes it just feels like the name of Flosstube videos could potentially just be the same every single time. So I get a little bored with that, and I have been naming them after songs. Like The Way We Stitch is The Way We Were, and People Who Need Stitching is like People Who Need People, and I Want to Stitch With Somebody is Whitney Houston. So anyway, that's what that's about, in case you were wondering why the titles of my videos are so random. Okay, so we have a lot of good stitching to talk about today, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna share my everyday stitch. I'm going to share where I landed on my whip into shape, which is not going to be an every week stitch anymore because Andrew finished his marathon. Yay! And then I'm going to talk about some new starts. Did I have a finish? I can't remember. But I got my whip basket right over here. I'm going to go just start pulling stuff from it. My dogs are barking. My daughter, my 10-year-old, she loves to talk about her dogs. Those are her feet. We went to a wedding last night and we were dancing. Joy loves to dance at weddings or at the roller rink or any opportunity where there's a crowd dancing, and she will be on the floor. So my feet, they're a little sore, but you know, it is what it is. And when's the next time I'm gonna go to a wedding? I don't know. So take every opportunity that I can. Okay, this is my 2 strands a day stitch. This is Halloween a Hawk Run Hollow from Carriage House, and as you can see, I've made my way across the top 4. I'm working on the middle 4, and then it'll be the bottom 4. And this is just plain 40 count Newcastle flax from Zweigart. So there's these top 4. I loved the top 4, and now I am down here. This is actually the first one I did. So we're working on the witches with the cauldron. So basically for my 2 strands a day, I just pull out 2 of my pre-cut strands of DMC, because I'm using DMC with this, and I stitch them up, put them in there, and then I put this project down until the next day. So I feel like probably 4 weeks ago, or maybe a little bit more, is when I started on this first lady. So she is all done now. And as you can see, I need to finish pulling that border across. So I've already started putting, so I guess she technically would probably be done because I decided to just go ahead and do the whole border for the next one. So I love this project. It is so, so fun. I love Halloween, and it makes it so I get to stitch on Halloween all year round. This is my oldest whip, which is why I've chosen it as my 2 strands a day. And so I'm doing 1/2 on the 40 count, and there might be a few stitches here or there missing, like there's a few more spiders and their webs that need to go in there, which is what I'm going to do after I finish bringing this across tomorrow, and then I'll finish working on that. And then we will move over into the Sister Witch. So it is just really, really fun. This is not the only hawk run that I have started. I've also started Christmas, but this is the only one that gets really consistent work right now. I have Shores in my stash, Autumn, I think. I don't know. Might be also Houses. I don't know. They're all so, so fun. Okay, so there's that. That's my 2 strands a day. Here is my whip into shape. So this is the other one that you're consistently seeing lately. Let me grab this needle out because that doesn't need to stay in there. Actually, I found a needle in this top from the last time I was wearing it, like maybe 3 or 4 months ago or something. So I probably did this exact thing. I was probably filming, found a needle, stuck it in the top, and then went and changed. Because I usually film like right when I get home from church before I get messy with whatever baking or whatever we're doing during the day. Joy and I like to bake on Sundays. So, Whip into Shape is a stitch along that I've been doing with Andrew the Runner Stitcher. He just finished his New York City Marathon, and on that day, which was last Sunday, I just only stitched on this. I didn't touch another single project. So I am pretty happy with the amount of work that I got done on this in August, September, and October. And on that day I was working in here, in this tree. I love this floss. I think it's called like Apricot Grove or something from Gloriana. And I was probably down in this tree too. I can't really remember, but you guys have been watching me stitch this for the past couple months. Before that, I was doing Fruits of Plenty. This is a 40 count piece of fabric that I over dyed to give it a green, because the negative space stays the color of the fabric. And this is from Autumn Lane Stitchery. I stitched on another Autumn Lane Stitchery in the last 2 weeks. I have a lot of whips to share, guys. I've been stitching on a lot of different things. So 40 count, so it's 1/2, mostly DMC with a few specialty flosses. So there is that one. So this is probably going away at least for the year. We'll have to see when it comes back out in January. But I had so much fun stitching on that with Andrew and on his marathon day. He ran for like 3.5 hours straight, I think, and that was much more difficult than what I was doing, but I just continued to stitch the whole day, not just for the 3 hours. Not that I stitched all day, but you know what I mean. Okay, next project. Okay, I have some project on my Autumn at Lazy Bear, and I honestly can't remember why this was out. I was putting in a bunch of stitches for something, for one of my projects, but I don't think this person was on British Baking Show. So maybe I just got this out to stitch on it just because. I don't remember. I think that's what it was. I think it was just like, it was Halloween and I wanted to stitch on more Halloween-y stuff that day. I think that's what it was. So this is a Kathy Barrick design, and hold on, let me show you again the whole. This is Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain. This is another piece of fabric that I dyed for this project. And then I was over here. So I think the first thing that I did was I was putting in the orange in a lot of this top in the border. I didn't make it all the way across, so there's still a bunch of the border that needs the orange to go in there. It's such a fun border. And then I believe I finished up this bird and the cat, or whatever it is. It almost looks like a sphinx on there to me. And then I was working on these trees or whatever these are going to be, and then there's such beautiful DMCs in this project. That's what I'm using. No, I'm not. No. Actually, this is Vicky Clayton Silks. My bad. They're gorgeous and vibrant, but I believe it's based off the DMCs. So it's really fun. So this is 40 count, 1/2 with the Vicky Clayton Silks. I think this is one of only 2 projects I have using those silks right now, I think. So yeah, slowly but surely, having some fun. I'm excited to see these, whatever we're gonna call those, the vining or trees, bushes, whatever they are. I'm excited to see those come out. So this probably, again, will not come out until 2026. Did I say 2025 when I was talking about that earlier? 2026. Whew, boy. The next Halloween project I was stitching on Halloween, I believe. I wanted to put in a little bit more on my Halloween Towne. Is that what this is called? By Autumn Lane Designs, Autumn Lane Stitchery. I was way off. It's called Witch's Hollow. I started this with Adelaide stitches, and I put this on the Sphinx by Moonshine Stitchery, and I'm stitching this 2 over 1 on 18 count. It's either 18 count or 20. And I'm using the DMCs, and it is such a fun stitch. I put this into my markup app too, and it's coming along. So I just think it is so cute, and it is going to be nice and saturated, and yeah, it's going to really pop off the linen. So again, I'm probably not going to be in the mood to stitch Halloween until the new year at some point, so we're going to say so long to this one. I just got this one off of their Etsy shop, I believe, and along with a bunch of other of their stuff. They have such cute designs over there. Guys, here's the thing. There was not enough Halloween stitchy time. There never is enough Halloween stitchy time for me. So on Halloween, I was like, there's a couple more projects that I wanted to start. It was like on Halloween or the day before, or 2 days before. And there were things that I had kitted up, and I was like, I've been meaning to start these for a long time, and I know I'm not gonna feel like stitching Halloween for the next couple months at least. So I'm gonna go ahead and start some things. So I started 2 Halloweenish, fallish projects. So let me show you those. Okay, the first thing was Lila's Studio Nevermore. I have had this kit up for at least 2, maybe 3 years, and I was like, I'm not gonna let another Halloween go by and not start this project. So I didn't get a huge start on it. Here's the linen that I had dyed for it a couple years ago. Grungy grunge, super fun. This is like Harbor with this rusty copper that I put on there. Okay, so I started in the top right, which is not usual for me, but here's where I got to. So this is a 40 count. I'm doing 1 over 2, and I'm using, I think it might be all of the called for. Whoops, I just dropped it. Oh, no, it's not all of the called for. I rarely use all of the called for. I just thought since this was an older kit that it might be, but I even have Silken Colors Slug Bug in here. Doesn't that look fun? I have to stitch with fun flosses. Like YOLO, right? YOLO, stitch with the fun floss. So I just have to. Even though the finished look might not be exactly what was intended, I need my stitching to be fun. And it looks like I have the recipe for this one. So if you're interested in some super fun fabric with the rustiness on the gray, let me know. I can bring this one to the shop. So here are the colors. And so that's my start on Nevermore. Like I said, I've been meaning to start this forever. It feels very similar to stitching one of her Quakers. So I've done Halloween, and I've started summer, and I have autumn and spring. Spring is already kit. So it feels just like it, but I just needed to. I needed to do it on Halloween. So that is my first start. My next start is Chrysanthemum House. So this one is in the series, the Houses on Pumpkin Lane series. This is number 2. I've already done the first one, and I really, really want all of them together in an adorable bowl for fall months. And so I already had this kitted up. I was like, I'm not gonna go another Halloween and not start it. So this one can stay out. I don't need to put this one away. Chrysanthemum House. So I'm gonna stitch them all on this same fabric. So it's a really fun, wild fabric, which this, if you want this kind of look in your fabric, this literally comes from dripping. So I always dilute my dye when I'm dyeing fabric, right? So this kind of color is because of diluting dye a lot. I believe that this color is made from like a dark brown, which if you use dark brown RIT dye, it comes off very rosy. So it's not gonna look brown brown, it's gonna look like this. And then charcoal, and doing washes of them over and over so you can see the layers because you're doing washes over and that's what gives the dimension. But this specific look is from literally dripping the dye right onto the fabric and then rubbing it in. So I don't use this kind of technique very often, but if you want this kind of look, that's how you're gonna get that. So, Pumpkin House I did in this top corner, and now Chrysanthemum House. And I got a pretty good little amount done on this that day. So, I'm about to bump the tripod. It's just so, it's so cute. I love Pansy Patch. That's the designer. And here are the flosses. And I believe they're mostly called for. I think there's a few things in there that I had to sub if I didn't have them. So that was my other start, like on Halloween or right near there. So there's that one. I do have one other little start, which I can't show because it's a secret stitch, but I will show it in the upcoming months. I have one more project that does not coincide or like go with a stitchy game. I like to do stitchy games if you're new here. So before we get to those, let me show you my dwelling place. So this is Dwelling Place by Teresa Kogut. I'm stitching this with Jan from Hoop It Up with Jan and Laurel. I'm a stitch nerd. And the goal is to finish this by Thanksgiving. What do you think? Can I do it? I really, really love this piece. This is a 36 count. I'm doing 1/2 with almost none of the called for flosses, totally kit up from stash for the most part. And Jan is finished with hers, and we are starting a new project on Thanksgiving. Yes, my edges are crazy, but it's fine. Jan's finished, and she challenged Laurel and I to get finished by Thanksgiving as well. So I'm trying to do it, ladies, but okay, so here I put in a little bit more work on this. I started in on the berry bowl and this area here. Mostly my work is in here this last week. So, and then I think I did some up here. I popped in some more colors here. Just like popped in a few things when I had a little bit of extra floss. So, you know, I'm not making wicked fast progress because I have a lot of other things I want to stitch on, but that's just the way it goes. I am so far from a monogamous stitcher, like I could be an example in the dictionary. So yes, but I do really, really love this project. I'm always excited to get it out. So this is gonna stay in my whip basket, and I'm gonna continue to try to pull it out whenever I don't have something else I'm trying to like a goal that I have for myself for that day. So like I mentioned, a lot, like the rest of my stitching is stitchy games. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that for the past couple years I had specific projects I would stitch on specific days, and then if I didn't have a project for that day I was going to stitch on, I would spin the wheel and like pick something random. But lately I've been pre-choosing projects to go along with TV shows that I'm watching, and then if something happens in the TV show that goes with that contestant, then I will stitch for that contestant. So we're going to move into Great British Baking Show. And that show is done now. I have not told you which contestant goes with which whip for any of my talking about stitching for this show because I don't want to do any spoilers. And I'm sure that there are many of you that have not watched the finale yet, so I'm still not going to give out any spoilers. But I have a lot of stitching to do for the finale. I've just barely started on the stitching that I want to do for the finale. So let's talk Great British Baking Show. Okay, so I believe that this person went home. So I had some stitching to do on Golden Delicious, I believe. And so I put 500 stitches into this. It was kind of like bebopping around, and maybe in my last video I had said I owe this some stitches. So I have put them in. I put them in the bird, and then a lot in the roof, and then the yellow of the house, and then down here, a little bit more in here, and then the framing. So 500 stitches, like when you have a full coverage part like this, I mean the 500 stitches don't go very far, believe it or not. But this is Golden Delicious from the Artsy Housewife, and this person went home. I was really hoping that I was going to be able to get a finish on this because of Great British Baking Show, but this contestant didn't get voted out early, but they also didn't win, I don't think, any Star Bakers. So yeah, basically they got stitched on once, because I know there are a bunch of people that are doing, or that did, or are doing, like if they got a handshake, they get this. If they won a technical, they get this. I only did voted out 500, Star Baker 500. So that's how I kept it easier for my brain. Unless, if I don't mention, fabric will always be dyed by me, Moonshine Stitchery fabric, 40 count. And if I mention that it's different, if it's different, I will tell you what it is. So yes, this is a Moonshine Stitchery fabric. And then the person who went home after that was this one that we talked about the week before, because I believe they got Star Baker and then they went right home. So this is Never Forget by Yasmin Made with Love. This was the 500 stitches, all this vining down here. And that's 500. So yeah, the previous 500 I was working in here, and then the next week I just put it all in the vining. I just was not in the mood to do any changing or anything. I just was like, let's build out these bones and see where we're gonna go. So this is some Lugana 28 count, I believe. It's 28 Jobelin, excuse me. Valkyrie by Under the Sea Fabrics is this shade. And I am using none of the call for flosses. I believe all the call for were like Leo and Roxy flosses, or no, Tom and Lily, something like that. So I pulled from Stash. So there's that lovely. Yeah, I need to pull this out again soon, because it's not, I would like to have this one off of my whip list, really. So there's that one. That one's 1/2 on the 28 count Jobelin. All right, and then we got to the finale. So this project has been the showpiece of the season. It has gotten so many stitches because this person, I think, won like an almost record number of Star Bakers. So they kept consistently getting 500 stitches each week, and I have decided to put 1,000 stitches in for what happened at the finale. So yeah, that means I need to do 20 pre-cut strands of floss, and this is Scary Sampler from Heartstring Samplery. And basically, since I put this in the Great British Baking Show, this is like almost completely all new. This is all the stitching from this season, which has been super, super fun. So my last session from when the last time they won Star Baker, I finished filling out all the brick in this house, and then I moved down here to this really cool stone pathway. And then today when I picked this back up, I put my first 100 stitches are just in that. So yeah, that's 2 strands right there, just in the one Demigorgon head outlining, basically. It's so crazy to think of it. You know what? That's what it is. That's not 100 stitches. That's 50 plus like 15, because I only used a half of another strand, and then I put it away because I wasn't going to be able to easily jump to the next Demigorgon head. You know, I don't want to count over here and do this Demigorgon head over here in the border and be off a little bit. I just don't want to mess with that. So that's right. Now I'm remembering what I did. So I put that away. I got out Raven, which I've almost finished with my whole skein of Raven. And so I need to put another skein in here. Raven is that very greenish black. This is a 32 count white chelt fabric, and I overdyed it to look like this, and I'm using 1/2 on this because it's a very, like, the holes are small on this white chelt that I overdyed. So now I'm going to put in probably all of the rest of the 1,000 stitches are going to be all this black. This whole part of the house needs to be like a solid black around the Demigorgon. So we'll put in a bunch of black, and then I'll put in some of the mossy that's going to go in here, and then I'll put in more black. So actually, so it's gonna look just like this, but facing down. So that's not mossy. It's gonna be collards and then mossy, just a little bit of mossy. And then I'll fill in, isn't it cool? I mean, such a cool design. by Beth Twist from Heartstring Samplery. On my nails today, by the way, speaking of a cool design, I broke this nail, so just ignore that. This is Yippee-Ki-Yay from the Moonshine Manny upcoming Die Hard holiday collection, which is launching this Friday at moonshinemanny.com, which is the same website that I sell my linen at moonshinestitchery.com. They share, they're like besties, and they are renting the apartment together. And so you can go check out our holiday collection. And this one is a magnetic from the holiday collection. It's super, super fun. But it's called Yippee-Ki-Yay. So that's what's on my nails today. And this is this is already a retired shade, unfortunately, but I just couldn't take it off. It was so fun. It's called Nail Polish Besties. Okay, so this is gonna get 1,000 more stitches and I'm gonna put it away. So you will still see this next week or in the next video, and then that will be the last time you see this one for a little bit, probably. So, did I just find another needle? Another needle. Yes, I did. This project has 2 needles in it. Okay, so then I have some decision making to do because the 2 other contestants that made it to the finale, I feel like I should put more stitching on their project because they made it to the finale, but at the same time, they didn't win. So I think I'm going to stitch the 1,000 stitches on Scary Sampler and then decide if I'm ready to move on. But consider the Lilies from Heartstring Samplery was for one of the contestants that, I mean, we don't know who was second place, who was third place, but they could potentially get 500 stitches. And then the other one is This I Know from Plum Street Samplers. And that could potentially get some more stitches. So I don't know, you might see those in the next video. Depends on if I decided to go ahead and give them stitches for being in the final. So, because potentially it'd be like the 500 stitches for getting voted out, but it's for both of them. So I have to decide on that. Okay, now we're gonna move on to Dancing with the Stars. Okay, so for my Dancing with the Stars stitches, I have just been stitching for the top scoring couple of each week. And I have been telling you what project goes with which couple, because I'm not stitching for who gets kicked out. So I don't want to spoil like who's leaving the show if you're a few weeks behind or whatever. So I am stitching on my Mirabilia. I decided to pick this one for Alex and Val when they got the highest score 2 weeks ago. Because of November, I decided to go ahead and put stitches into my Mary Mary. So this is my current Mirabilia. That's my first one, Garden Prelude. And the next one I've chosen, I just had to do this Christmassy one. So this is Mary Mary. As you can see, she's got her bodice starting to fill out here. Here's one arm. She's got all this really cool decoration around her neckline. I've started putting in a little bit of skin. I decided she has so little skin showing in this design, like it's just a little bit of her neckline and her neck and a tiny bit of her face, but she has this big, like, is it a hood or she has something on where you're not really seeing a lot of skin. And then she has these long sleeves with gloves, I think. So literally it's just this, it's very little. So with Garden Prelude, I did 1/1 on the 32 count for the skin, but I think I'm just gonna do 2/2 on this, on Mary Mary. So this is a piece of evergreen from Moonshine Stitchery that I wanted to put Mary Mary on. And I am still missing one of the Krynics. I believe it's on its way to me. I think it's a red one. I'm not sure. But anyway, as you can see, I've been putting in Krynic. I have been marking this off on the physical paper with a highlighter because Mirabilias are other patterns where I get very easily confused of where I'm at. So it would be perfect for markup XP, but I'm using like a physical highlighter method on this one. So there are a couple of specialty flosses. Karen Water Lilies are in this kind of corally red, and then in this green that goes to like this light green here. Those are the 2, and the rest of them are DMCs. So I'm doing 2/2 on 32 count. Oh, here's more of that green there, you can see. 32 count evergreen by Moonshine Stitchery, and there are 500 new stitches in there. So I love this shade, and Alex and Val are doing really, really great. I don't expect that they will win the show, but I don't know. They might be a top scorer again. We'll have to see. So there's that. They won top score on Halloween night. That was a great episode. And then my main stitch of Dancing with the Stars this season has been Anne MacFarlan by the Wishing Thorn. And that is because I cast this piece for this couple because they are far and away the most dance experienced couple than anybody else. So they have like a huge lead on everybody already. So I predict that they will win the show, and I knew that they were going to get a lot of stitching, and I really wanted to stitch more on Anne MacFarlan. So I purposely chose this one anticipating that I'd get a lot of stitching. So, and it has been. I'm stitching this on Rhapsody from Moonshine Stitchery, 46 count, and I'm using Mountain Mist. Here's my little skein. It's almost gone. So pre-cut strands for me on 40 and 46 count, I get about 50 to 60 stitches per strand. So if I know I need to put 500 stitches in this, I know I just need to pull 10 strands and stitch them all in, and then I'm done. So this time, whoop, the 500 strands are in, I believe, here. And then I came down here, went across, and then started in here. So that's what's new pretty much this time. And I am just continuing to love this so much. 46 count is a little tough for me, but I love stitching this outside with great morning light, and I can really see. So there are 7 contestants left. That means that there's like 4 episodes before the finale. Sometimes they take 3 people to the finale, sometimes they take 4, like last season. So, you know, there's 3 or 4 episodes. They will probably continue to get 500 stitches an episode, just the way it's going. So I expect to get a lot more done on Anne. Okay, I put more stitches into my anniversary piece this week because the Steelers had a great game this last week. And so my anniversary piece is a full coverage that I plotted into PCX Stitch. It looks like this. It's an original artwork of a scene from the video game World of Warcraft, which is where I met my husband online 15 years ago. And so I'm stitching a full coverage piece in honor of that. I have no idea if this will ever get finished. It's just for the fun of it. So I had not shared any progress on this in a while because the Steelers have... So basically, my version of stitching for football this year is if Jalen Warren gets a touchdown, I put in 100 stitches. In the last game, he got 2. So 200 for that. If Joey Porter Jr. gets an interception, I put in 100 stitches. And then the other one is if TJ Watt makes a sack, I put in 200 stitches. And I wasn't able to watch the last little bit of the game. I can't remember why, but there were 400 stitches needed. So basically the corner of this piece is black, but the colors of the piece are going to be more like this. So here are some colors that I picked up the other day to start filling in here. We're going to start bringing all these colors in this way. So I'm not diagonal parking with this full coverage like I am with my other ones. I am just choosing to do, I don't know, are we calling it cross country? Basically, I'm just picking a color and filling it in. And since I'm doing stitches in the multiples of 100, I'm kind of just, you know, it's staying a lot more concise and not spreading out so quickly. But I wanted to show you some of the colors that are about to come in. So we have another game today at 6:30 or something like that, so we shall see. Cross your fingers for Jalen, Joey, and TJ. So that's the progress on that full coverage. Okay, and then I have 2 more projects to share with you. They're both on 46 count, and I started them at a very similar time actually, and this is for Survivor. So I told you in my last video I was going to be starting a new game, kind of coinciding with when the Bake Off is done. So I don't have any more baking stitching that I need to do, you know, with the exception of what I already talked about. So I've started Survivor. So Survivor already started like 6 or 7 weeks ago, but they are finally now down to, they've merged all into one tribe. So there are 11 contestants left. So 10 now because somebody just went home. So for Survivor, I'm gonna stitch 500 stitches if you got the immunity and 500 stitches if you went home. And that's how it's gonna go. So I'm again not gonna tell you who's assigned with who, but let me show you the projects really quick that are going to be playing this season. So here are those projects. Okay, so the first person who went home since the merge was sadly assigned to Blue House Pinkeep from Stacy Nash. This is a project I started with Lizzie the Stitcher for her birthday in 2024. And I am just not making massive amounts of progress on it, but I do love it. I think it's very striking and very fun. And I have definitely pulled in some fun floss. As you can see, there's a cottage garden threads in here. See how that blue is so variegated with greens, because I just can't help myself. So this time I put all the 500 stitches were just in this red color. So I finished the bunting out on this side, finished it all out on this side, and it was 500 stitches. It was close enough. It was like there was a few extra or something. So there's that. So this is the first person voted out. So sad. This is on 46 count, just plain, that I picked up in Hobby Lobby like a long time ago, where it says embroidery fabric. That's a 46 count. So if you want to try your hand at 46 count, and it's undyed, so it's going to be probably the larger than you would get, like easier to read or to stitch on than a hand-dyed fabric. So there's that. And I'm doing 1/2. And then this is the person who won the immunity challenge. And I purposely assigned not a ton of samplers to Survivor because I wanted to see like how much I could get. Can I get some of these smaller projects knocked out? So this is my Christmas Swan by With Thy Needle and Thread. I started this with Heidi from Whips and Kits, and Kim from Contented Needle Worker Kim, and a few other people. And I put in 500 stitches in the swan's butt. And yes, it's ghosting a lot, but I'm okay with that. I think it looks really fun. So this is with maybe none of the called for flosses. It's on 46 count. The butt is almost completely done. So like all of this is 500 stitches, like all of that. I just worked in like, no, it's grits. Yeah. So, but this person's still in it, so they want immunity. So this one will definitely get some more stitches on it in this game. All right, so time for plans, and I don't have any haul, and then we'll talk about books. So if you like to hear about what I've been reading and loving or not loving in the last couple weeks, that's gonna be at the very end of the video. So, Heidi and Michael and I are starting Yuletide Welcome by Plum Street Samplers. It looks like this. We are going to be starting it tomorrow. So when this video goes up, we will have already started it, and I'm very excited. I do have a lot of, that's probably the designer I have the most whips of is Plum Street Sampler. So in fact, I'm going to tell you my top 5 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who I have the most whips of, because I have whip journals, so I can see, you know, I can track what I'm doing, who I'm stitching, all that good stuff. When I start, when I finish, all the things. So, it's not enough. It's not enough. I needed another Plum Street Samplers start, obviously. So we're gonna start that tomorrow, and then other than that, my plans are just to continue stitching on the games that I shared with you and autumn things. I wanna be all autumn the whole time. And then I'm gonna wanna be all Christmas, but I'm not there yet. So those are my plans, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Hi to my friend Angel. I met a stitching friend in real life. I am part of a non-denominational Christmas chorale, and we are starting up practicing again. And Angel is a cross stitcher, and so we haven't got together to stitch together, but we do see each other once a week and talk about what we're stitching on. So if you made it this far into the video, hello. I hope you're doing great. Okay, so now we're going to talk about books. So that is pretty much it for the stitching. If you are not interested in books, I will see you back in 2 weeks. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for coming. Thanks for liking the video, all the things. And I love to read books. So we're going to talk about books. I love to read, and I read a lot. And when I say read, I basically exclusively listen to books, whether it's on a Libby app or an Audible app, because I love to multitask, and that lets me multitask. And I'm also going to put up a counter here of the number of books that I have read this year. And if you feel like counting your books you've read this year, you can let me know in the comments below. I want to know in the comments below what your favorite stitch was this week. If you are a reader, what your favorite book was this week. If you love to watch TV like I do, what's your favorite television show? Ink Master started back up. I love that show as well. I'm not playing a game for it, but that show recently started back up, which I'm very happy about. I have been really loving Only Murders in the Building and watching a lot of that. In fact, I might have to do a nail polish collection on it next year because I've just really been loving it. So, okay. Anyway. All right. Since my last video, I finished The Light Pirate. I don't think I had finished it by the time, I think I'd like just started it, or I was just about to start it. So I read These Silent Woods by Kimmy Cunningham Grant. That was about the father and the daughter that lived in the Appalachian Mountains, like purposefully, intentionally away from society for a mysterious reason. It was good. I thought it was lovely and heartfelt, and I think I gave it like a 3.5. Then I read The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks Dalton. I have people ask me, where am I getting my recommendations from? I watch like book talk sometimes and see what people are talking about. I'll watch YouTube videos where people are just talking about what they've read, like they do monthly wrap-ups. I see stuff on Instagram. I mean, I get my recommendations from everywhere, from friends, in person. So I don't really always remember where I got like the inspiration to add things to my TBR, but I just pull from like a big long list that I have. And so it's like kind of random. So, okay, The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks Dalton. It's funny because I read two like global warming books in less than a week period of time, because I read Migrations, and that was the one where the lady was up on a boat in the Arctic and she was trying to track these birds, and all of the animal species were going extinct. And then The Light Pirate, this is also about basically like Florida and California are falling off into the ocean because of global warming. Like there's just more fires and more hurricanes. They're just kind of like nonstop, and people having to evacuate those areas of the country because they're inhospitable. And it tracks the life of this woman from basically her birth, the day of her birth, which the whole book is just like trauma after trauma after trauma, and just how people overcome these traumas and adapt. It's about adaptability. And like kind of relatable, but also a little bit out there. And there's also a little bit of magic in this book. I thought it was really pretty. It's a book about loneliness and grief, and like I said, adaptability, but love and found family, and I thought it was very interesting. So if you want to read a book about what it would be like living through a scenario like the one I described, like natural disasters just never stop happening, until like the earth is so hot you can only come out at night, and even then you're like your skin's gonna burn off. If that sounds wonderful to you, I thought it was lovely. I gave it a 4. It was okay. It wasn't really lovely. It was, like I said, like very traumatic, but parts of it were lovely and all of it was interesting. There we go. Okay, Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano. This is like a retelling of Little Women. It's like a modern day Little Women, which was not how the book was sold to me. But once I realized that that's what it was about, I started enjoying it even more. But basically there's these four sisters, and they are they Italian? We start in like the 1970s, I think, and you're in the point of view of two of the sisters and one man, like a significant other. And then the other people in the story, the other sisters and like the mother and the father, they aren't ever first person, I don't think. But you do get to know a lot about them. And then you get to know a lot about like the generations as well. And it's just kind of like the interweavings of their life and how they stay together versus how they drift apart. And like just, I found it to be really interesting. Like I said, when you liken it to Little Women, there were some things that I related to and things that I was just like, okay, yeah, that would never happen to me, which is kind of funny. It's kind of one of the reasons why you read books, right? You really think, how would I be in that scenario? You know, maybe what is a different choice I could make so that you don't find the sorrow that this person found. But, you know, we all learn our lessons in life the hard way a lot of the times. But I thought it was lovely. I gave that one a 4. Not like my favorite thing I read in the last 2 weeks, but I thought it was lovely. Then I read Dark Matter, and this one might have been my favorite one I read in the last 2 weeks. I think so. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This one got made, I think, into an HBO movie with Joel Edgerton and Jennifer Connelly. So basically, this is a multiverse book, and this man gets like kidnapped one day. He's a scientist. He's a high school physics teacher or something like that. And he gets kidnapped and discovers, when he wakes up, he discovers he's in a different version of the multiverse than the one he's always lived. And he has to try to figure out how to get back to his version. And it was just very, very interesting. The whole way through, it was a wild ride, and I thought it was really beautiful. So just the love between this little family that's trying to reunite and the interesting science involved, and it was very exciting. So I think that was probably my top read out of the last 2 weeks was Dark Matter. I don't want to tell you too much more about it, but if you at all like sci-fi that doesn't take place in space, I think you will really like this. It was very interesting. Then I read The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This one was interesting. I didn't like it quite as much as Dark Matter, but it did have a few good twists, and it was pretty enjoyable all the way through. I didn't care for the male narrator that much. Basically, there's this man, and he is having an affair, and the woman he's having an affair with is found dead, and he's on trial, and the person who has to defend him is his wife. Or she doesn't have to defend him, but she chooses to defend him. And then it's just like all the little mysteries that unfold as you go through that whole process. So I found it to be really interesting. Didn't love it quite as much as Dark Matter, but if that sounds fun, like a little domestic murder mystery thriller, that's what that book's about. Then I read Nestlings, and this one by Nat Cassidy. This was a horror book, and so I had this, and I was like, okay, we're past Halloween, but I'm gonna go ahead and read this. It sounds interesting. It's kind of sold like it's gonna be a vampire book. It's not really a vampire book, but it takes place, I think they said in Manhattan. You're in this beautiful old apartment building, and there's some very strange goings on in the building. This honestly reminded me a lot of an American Horror Story season. But I'm trying to think, like, the horror involved, like, if you have an issue with like bugs, you won't like this. But there's not a lot of, there's no like bodily mutilation, which would be something in a horror book that would be really hard for me. There's none of that. There is like some gross imagery described, like if you think of like vampire, kind of kind of adjacent to that, because it's not really vampire. Like imagine vampires and then a hybrid with like bugs. So, but if you want to be in New York City and watch the spiral of like madness that happens, okay, so some other things about this book is it's a lot about like, there's postpartum depression, but also like caring for a member of your family that is disabled, like never ever getting any sleep because you have a newborn plus another person you're caring for. So there's just a lot going on, but I thought it was a good time. It wasn't too gross, so I think I'd give it a 4. It was interesting. It was interesting for sure. And then the one that I just started is called Margot's Got Money Troubles, and this is a comedy. It's narrated by Elle Fanning, and it's a comedy, but like also I think it's kind of like a coming of age, but basically there's this young single mom. She got pregnant her first year of college. The dad's not in the picture, and she doesn't have any support from her family really. She's got to figure out how she's gonna live in LA and support this baby. And this took a turn that I really was not expecting. Not in like a mystery, horror element, not anything like that. It's just like a dramedy. But I really wasn't expecting it. I am only halfway through, so I don't have an opinion for you on whether or not you should read it. But if you like quirky, just novels, there's comedy and just doesn't take itself too seriously, this might be the book for you. But I feel like it was highly recommended as like a lighthearted, I don't remember. I don't remember, but it's definitely living up to the lighthearted dramedy kind of situation. So I think it's going to be about like a father-daughter relationship, which seems very lovely, but then also it's a mother-son relationship. So we'll see. So that's what I'm reading. Gosh, okay, that was a lot, but we are done. And my voice is ready to rest. So I'm gonna go stitch. I'm gonna go put in my 1,000 stitches on Scary Sampler. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks for spending some of it with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share the video with a friend if you think that they might enjoy a stitchy video. And I will see you back in 2 weeks with a bunch more stitchy progress. And that's gonna be it. Okay, thanks, take care, bye.